Hey everybody, welcome back to Common Knowledge, a show where I look at some Pauper legal cards and tell you if they're actually playable or not. Happy Tuesday. This is November 11th, right? Happy 11/11. Let's see if that gives us a little bit of luck as we go into our first card. It is Scola Grove Dancer, which is 1 and a green for an enchantment creature, Satyr Druid. And whenever a land card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, you gain a life. And you can also pay 2 and a green to mill a card at instant speed. It's a 2/2. 2/2 for 2. That's, Grizzly Bear. But this is an enchantment creature, which could do something, I guess, if you got an enchantment deck in Pauper. I'm trying to think of a deck. I mean, there are plenty of decks that mill cards in Pauper, both in green and in black and in blue. And this thing does mill cards by itself if you need to, but if you have other milling enablers, that's something to consider. But what's the payoff here? The payoff is a life. Each time a land goes into the yard. But is that enough? Is that enough? I'm not sure that it is. It actually would work decently well with the I want to say tri-cycling lands, but I feel like those are a different, or somebody would say those are a different thing. I mean the Modern Horizons fetch lands that can look up and find 3 different kinds of basics. Those are decent fetches, and they can also cycle. So they are kind of tri-cycling lands, right? So that's 2 different ways of putting a land in your graveyard and gaining that life. But again, the 1 life just isn't that much. And I think you would generally just find a more efficient source of life gain to make a payoff better than this one could possibly be. But I do like seeing commander cards that are at common, but I guess this is common because it was in Theros. I don't think you see that. I don't think they make new Pauper card or new common cards. Sorry, new commander deck cards that begin at common rarity. I think all the new cards they make for commander decks are all rares or higher, but the reprints can be from common. So that's kind of interesting. I kind of wish they would use that as a way of downshifting cards potentially. But I don't know. I haven't seen it. Anyway, Scola Grove Dancer, we need to give this thing a score, don't we? I mean, it's not terrible. I'll give it a 2.8. And let's get on to our next card. Any day now, Internet. There we go. It's Gron, Town of Ruin. This is from Final Fantasy V. Did I get to Gron? I've played 5, but I didn't finish 5. I really should go back and play Final Fantasy V. But Gron Tower of Ruin, it's a land, it's a town, and it enters tapped, and it taps for black or green. Towns. What do we give towns? I don't know the town synergy cards that are at common. And if there are any, they're only in the Final Fantasy set, so there aren't going to be a whole lot. It's probably not enough to build a real deck around. The only town I've seen get a halfway amount of play is what is it called? Like the Adventurers town, something like that. It enters and you gain 2 life, and and it also taps for colorless mana. There are other colorless sources that come into play and gain you 2 life as well, and that is, I think those mostly just get used in bounce decks, so you can bounce that land back to your hand and play it again for more life. That's a more efficient way of gaining life than the card we saw last time, the last one we just did. But I haven't seen these multicolored towns do much of anything. The only time I actually ever see any of these lands is when I'm playing Commander and somebody is playing, what is it, the Wandering Minstrel or something, who's like a town dedicated commander. And so then you play the towns because you have to or want to. I mean, I guess I saw them at Final Fantasy Limited as well because they're dual lands and there were a couple of town payoffs. But I don't think there are enough town payoffs to make a Pauper deck. And so we just don't really see them. And if you want a dual land, there's a ton of better options in Pauper. So again, like a straight up comes into play tap dual land is good. I think it's fine enough, but you'd rather play a gate. You'd rather play a gain land. You'd rather play a land with basic land types on it. And so when you think about all the lands that would go on top or go in your deck before something like this, it ends up pushing this down to a pretty low score. I'll give these towns a 2. But if there is a towns deck that eventually shows up in Pauper, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be green and black. Although, actually, you know, in the dredge decks, which people don't really play the dredge decks these days because they all just play spy combo instead, which I really hope spy combo goes away because I have a dredge deck and I'd like to go back to playing my dredge deck the way God intended, you know. But until then, that deck uses Town Greeter from Final Fantasy that mills 4 cards into your graveyard, and then you can bring back a basic land or a town. And I think if you bring a town back, you gain some life. And generally, as Pauper players, we don't care about the towns and the life gain. We'd rather just get a basic land back, and that's fine. But if there was a deck that used towns more effectively, then Town Greeter in a Golgari kind of shell might want this land specifically. So this is probably the best of the towns, maybe, but still probably not all that good. I'm going to give it a 2.1. I'll give the rest of the towns a 2, but I'll give this one a 2.1 for the possibility that if there was a towns deck, you probably want to play it in Golgari, or maybe even Sultai or Simic, maybe, because there's also blue-green, I think, is the colors in Limited that use towns the most. At the very least, there were 2 towns. One of them was rare. Let's stop talking about towns. Let's continue and move on. Move on to Toxic Stench. It's 1 and a black for an instant. Target non-black creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. And it also has Threshold. If there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, instead you destroy that creature and it cannot be regenerated. This is from Judgment. It's actually not terrible. You know, it still is a non-black creature, even if you have the Threshold. So this is just a Doomblade with extra steps. When you put it that way, it's actually a lot worse because you also just don't play Doomblade that much in Pauper. I've seen people use Go for the Throat a little bit lately, but you're mostly sticking to Cast Down. That is the one these days. Although with Spider-Man bringing in a bunch of common legends, maybe Cast Down gets used a little bit less. But honestly, I have not seen those Spider-Man legends make any real sort of difference. I did end up picking up a handful. I picked up the 3/3 Spider-Man one, the Peter Parker one. I picked up a playset of the Venom at common because it can potentially do some cool things in like a dredge deck. Put it in your graveyard and take it out, or exile it and put Death Touch on a creature, I think. But Cast Down's the flavor of the day for removal, black removal specifically, that costs 2 mana. Toxic Stench, I don't think it's bad, but Pauper is a game about using the best option you have available to you, and I don't think this is it. That being said, it's totally fine. So as something that is playable but not played, I'll give this a 4.7. Can we find a card that actually gets played in Pauper today? We'll see. Is it going to be Dampened Thought? I don't think it's Dampened Thought. Let's take a look. Let's also take a look at this Champions of Kamigawa version. But that's uncommon. They downshifted this. Imagine being a Champions of Kamigawa card, and they go, "Ooh, too powerful." I guess that's not true. It'd be the other way around, right? It's like this effect is actually so weak at uncommon, we feel fine bringing it into common. So downshifting it that way. I guess then that makes a lot more sense. Let's read what Dampen Thought is. It's 1 and a blue for an instant. It's also an arcane spell. We'll talk about arcane here in a second. Target player mills 4 cards. That could be you. You could be target player, but it could be opponent as well. And it also has Splice into Arcane for its same cost, 1 and a blue. So as you cast an arcane spell, you can reveal this card for your hand from your hand and pay its splice cost. And if you do, you add this card's effects to that spell. So it's kind of a way, it's not free because you're still paying for it, but you don't actually spend the card. So if you have an arcane spell, I think actually we talked about this on a previous episode, because I think I was talking about Kadama's Reach or maybe Lava Spike. But you'd play one of these arcane spells, and then you reveal this, and you pay its cost, and you do the effect, but then you keep the card in your hand. The opponent knows you have it, but then you can play it later. Or you play another arcane spell, and you flip this and reveal it again and do it again. So it is a way of getting a little bit of card advantage in a way, which was very important in Kamigawa because there were a lot of cards that cared about the size of your hand, how many cards were in your hand, or if you had more cards in your hand than an opponent, or if you had more cards in your hand than an opponent's creature, they couldn't attack you. A number of different things that cared about hand size. So having something like Arcane allowing you to keep the card in your hand was a relatively valuable mechanic in that environment. Again, that environment was not very good. As much as I love Kamigawa and the Champions block, I know I am mostly in the minority of that. And this card, it's not very good. If you're playing a blue deck, you have so many more options of milling, mostly self milling. I actually don't think I've seen a whole lot of mill strategies for the opponent. Maybe there's some infinites that I just don't see, but you're mostly self-milling in blue for like a Tolarian Terror deck, and they're just more efficient options than this. So Dampen Thought, boy, oh boy. Let's give it a, it mills you 3 more cards than that first card we saw. Let's go ahead and give this a 2.5. That's probably too high. Let's bring it down to like a 2.3 and keep on moving. Wall of Wood. You know what? Not a great card, but I love this one. Wall of Wood's a single green mana. It's a 0/3 wall. And now all walls have Defender, which means they can't attack. But it used to be, we go back to something like Revised, you didn't need Defender. You just knew that walls can't attack. Also, it had 0 power. What are you attacking with it for? Wall of Wood, man, I love this art, this Mark Teeden art, but I love my girl Rebecca, and I think she did a fantastic job on this card. Not a great card, not a great card. There's just so many better options. You rarely need a wall on turn 1. I guess there are wall combo-y decks, but I don't think the wall combo-y decks play this card either. There's often just better walls that you'd play, even for as efficient as a single green mana for a 0/3. Yeah, man. But man, this is a card that I remember getting a copy from. I think I had this 4th edition copy from my friend who gave me all of her Magic cards when she went off to college, and I started playing that game and went, wow, look at these cool things. Like I love these walls. It's so cool. Nothing gets through them, right? And the answer is no. Actually, lots of things get through them. If you're playing walls, you're probably losing. Unfortunately, Wall of Wood. What do you give a Wall of Wood? Let's give it a 1.3 and make myself a little sad. Thalicos Sentry is a 1/2 Thalicos Soldier, and it's got Shadow. It's from Tempest. Thalicos was not a creature type before. I wonder. Let's take a look. How many? Let's actually do a little bet. No, not a bet here. A guess. For the audience out there and for myself, how many Thalicos creature types in the Oracle do you think there are these days? I'm going to say, man, you wouldn't give it, you wouldn't make a creature type later if you weren't going to have at least 5, right? You got to have at least 5 of these things. I'm going to say there are 6 Thalicos. Could be wrong, almost assuredly are wrong. Let's find out. Thalicos. Could be at any rarity, not just Pauper, not just Pauper playable. Got your answers locked in? Let's take a look. There are 7. Oh, I was so close. 7 Thalicos and at least 1 rare. Could be more rare, but I'm not going to go into look at all these. Let's go back to this. It's a 1/2 with Shadow. We talked about Shadow on a previous episode. Shadow's okay. You can't be blocked unless the creature has Shadow, but it also can't block unless it's blocking a creature with Shadow. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. You're kind of playing a whole separate game at that point. If you're asking me, I actually have a deck that plays with some unblockable creatures, and I have a creature I prefer over something with Shadow. It can at least block, but it is unblockable itself, mostly unblockable. I just didn't want to tell you about Woo Scout. I wanted Woo Scout to show up on the show before I actually talked about it. But yeah, I've got a 1/1 with Horsemanship. Ooh, yeah, we'll talk about that hopefully when it comes up. But a 1/2 with Shadow, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, it's at least unblockable. You throw a bunch of auras on this. You throw a bunch of equipment on this. We've had a Shadow creature before, a Douthie something or other, and we had a very similar conversation. So these are okay creatures. Is blue a better enchantment deck than black? Maybe it might be better, but also I guess you could play equipments with this, and that's I don't know. It doesn't really matter all that much. We're gonna give this I'll give this a 3. No, we can't give it a 3. Let's give it a 2.7. 2.7. That sounds better to me. We got Lurking Night Stalker, real close to something Douthie. It looks very Douthie for sure. It is black for a 1/1 Night Stalker, and when this creature attacks, it gets +2/+0 until the end of the turn. Kind of interesting. So you're generally dealing with a 3/1 here on offense. The stats aren't great, but black does like to give you some kind of power boost, or not just in the creature's power, but as in getting some kind of advantage at a risk, and having a creature gain some power but still be low toughness and easy to block makes sense for black. But also you're in black, so you have creature destruction. You know, just hit them with the terror or something and then attack them for 3 with this. 2 mana isn't terrible for essentially a 3-power creature, but it's also pretty vanilla outside of that, and not really worth it all that much. So art's cool. Kev Walker art, that's a big deal. But the card itself, not a big deal. Let's give it a 1.6. Swarm Surge is 2 and a black for a sorcery. It's got Devoid, so it's not actually black, because this card has no color. But creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. Colorless creatures you control also gain first strike until end of turn. It's kind of interesting. From Battle of Zendikar, I was not playing during this block, or during this set. Maybe they stopped doing blocks at this point. Sorcery speed's not very good. At instant speed, this would be really interesting, right? You have a whole sea of artifact creatures that are colorless, or tokens that are colorless, and you give them all +2/+0 and first strike. You could really blow an opponent out like that, and I'm sure they knew that. And so they said, well, let's just make it sorcery speed, make it a little safer. And it is safer, but it also makes it worse. And this having devoid doesn't really do anything. I guess if something has protection from black, maybe you put this on your own creatures with protection from black, and you still get to do it. But that wouldn't matter anyway, right? Because you're not targeting the creatures. So this is a global effect anyway. So I don't know. I don't really understand why this is devoid, other than the flavor of it being an Eldrazi kind of spell. Overall, just kind of weak. Kind of weak. Let's give it a 2.5. Is this are we on the final card? No, I think we've got 2 cards. Windrake. Oh hell yeah, Windrake. So many good Windrakes. I like this one. I think that's actually from Portal. No, Tempest. That's the Tempest one. I like the Tempest one a lot. I like the Portal one a lot. I kind of like the 7th. I would want it in the holographic one though. I'm not a huge foil guy, but 7th edition foils. 7th edition foils look so good. And then I don't much care for these Windrakes. Ooh, I do like this one. What is this? Ravnica set, right? What set is this? Dragon's Maze. That's why I don't know it. I don't care too much about Dragon's Maze. But Windrake, 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer. It's classic. It's clean. It's not very good, but man, it's a nostalgic magic creature. But it's not very good. It's a 2. It's a 2. 2 for the old Windrake. But man, yeah, the Tempest art's just better. Look at that. All right, this is the last card of the day. Screeching Buzzard is 3 and a black, also for a 2/2 bird. Well, 2/2 flyer. I mean, the last one was a drake. This is a bird, but close enough. But when this creature dies, each opponent discards a card. That's... You could make this work. You could put this in kind of a madness style deck, but you often will not get the choice of when this thing dies, because your opponent will block it or will lightning bolt it or something like that. I guess if you're blocking with it, you get to choose when it dies, and you can make sure you have mana held up to discard the card and play it with madness when necessary. But then more often than not, you're probably just holding up a bunch of mana that you don't spend, and that's just really inefficient. And at the end of the day, this is a 4 mana 2/2 flyer. Are you going to play this, or are you going to play the rat, the zombie rat that flies? Why can I not remember the name of this card that I play all the time? But that's also a 4 mana flyer that's 2/1. Oh, lower toughness. But when it comes into play, opponent discards a card, and if they can't, you draw a card. Card advantage for you is better than each opponent or each player discarding a card, and maybe you have the madness card in your hand. But yeah, that's I don't think you'd really play this. It is from Onslaught though. I do like Onslaught. It's cool that this was in Battle Bond though. Battle Bond, a set that's geared towards playing 2v2. So a creature that makes all 4 people discard, and one of those people is your teammate, is interesting. You'd have to make an interesting choice for that. So that's kind of cool. Doesn't make it better in terms of a magic card, a Pauper card, but interesting nonetheless. We'll give this... Is this worse than a Windrake? No, it's maybe like slightly better than a Windrake. We gave the Windrake a 2. We'll give this a 2.1. I'm feeling generous. Let's do a bonus card. Let's see something else. Titanium Golem. Okay, Mirrodin. This is when I really got into Magic. So I got that binder from my friend, and she had a bunch of 4th and 5th edition cards, and some older cards from then. A lot of old frame cards, and But when I was getting into Magic, when I just got that, I think 7th edition or 8th edition was just coming out, and then Mirrodin. So you had that modern frame. And man, I opened a lot of packs of Mirrodin. Just this was the new Magic set at the time, and this was so cool to open these things. And it's all about artifacts. Aren't artifacts awesome? And this is when I also fell in love with golems. I loved golems. I still love golems to this day. I need to make a golem commander deck. I just haven't been able to choose who I want to lead it. We'll find out. But I like all these guys. None of them are really good. There are 2 cycles of golems specifically in Mirrodin. One of them is an affinity for a basic land type. So like affinity for islands, affinity for plains, and each of those has some kind of keyword on it. So I think the island one is flying, the plains one is vigilance, the red one is haste. So you get all those different abilities. And then you have a second set that all have activated abilities to give them some kind of boost. So this one gives first strike. I should read the card. It's 5 mana for an artifact creature golem. It's a 3/3, and you can pay 1 and a white, and this creature gains first strike until end of turn. So that's what this one gets. There's like Hematite Golem, who gets like a fire breathing effect, I think, for 1 and a red. Does one get... Does Cobalt Golem get Island Walk or something? I can't remember what some of these get. They're not very good. You're paying 5 mana for a 3/3 that sometimes has first strike. That's a bad rate. And there are a lot of really good broken cards in Mirrodin. You don't really need to spend your time on Titanium Golem. It's a little sad. I wish it was better, but it's not. So we'll give this a 1.6. It's really not very good. You shouldn't play it, but I do love it. Anyway, we'll catch you next time. See ya.